Hey guys, it's Matt here, and this week I learned that some things, as fun as they were, are better left in the past. All the way back in 2010, fresh off of constantly getting my ass handed to me in Modern Warfare 2,
Modern Warfare 2 sucks dick.
I thought to myself, what about this, but bigger, and with vehicles? Turns out,
Hey, that's pretty good.
and that's when I got my first introduction to the Battlefield franchise in the fan favorite Bad Company 2. Could my PC run it properly? No. Was I good at it? No. Did I make any friends while playing it back then? No, also not. But was it fun, chaotic, and something completely different than anything else I've ever played? Oh hell yeah. With the Battlefield 2042 open beta just behind us, and the release of the actual game coming up soon, I decided to take a trip down memory lane and fire this bad boy up for the first time in years. And what I found was a whole lot of sadness and disappointment covered up under a warm blanket of nostalgia. So let's see how this game aged and if it's possible or even useful to return to the title that made me fall in love with the Battlefield franchise, in this sort of review on Battlefield Bad Company 2.
That is the greatest thing I have ever seen in my entire life.
Battlefield Bad Company 2 was a direct sequel to Battlefield Bad Company, but in contrast to that game, Bad Company 2 was also released on PC instead of exclusively on console. On release, the game consisted of a story-driven single-player campaign and of course an online multiplayer. And I say story-driven, but let's be completely honest, the people who actually played this campaign know damn well the story is not the driving force of why you play through it. This story follows the aptly named Bad Company, consisting of playable character Preston Marlowe and his squad mates. The soon-to-be retired and
I'm too old for this.
Sergeant Bradford, the liberal-hating red-blooded American with a tiny heart Haggard, and the most cautious but also most intelligent member of the team, Sweetwater. But the game doesn't start with them, but with another squad making their way onto a Japanese island during a covert operation in the Second World War known as Operation Aurora. You find out that the Japanese have some sort of weapon which could cause an insane amount of destruction. Needless to say, the American government is like,
It's free real estate.
and wants to take a hold of the weapon. But of course everything goes to shit and these soldiers never return home. Which brings us to the near future, and the Bad Company are tasked with gathering information on this stereotypical Russian bad guy who is planning on doing stereotypical Russian bad guy stuff with a stereotypical weapon of mass destruction. Your informant, this guy, is supposed to tell you everything about this weapon, but then he gets captured, so you have to save him first. You shoot some people in the snow, and then you shoot some people in Chile, and then you shoot some people in the middle of a thunderstorm, and you find out that, oh no, the soldiers from the covert operation in the Second World War were actually sent on a suicide mission. The government knew about the weapon all along, and they knew the soldiers would never return. You, being all pissed off about that, continue
Fighting round the world.
and then you shoot some more people while in a tank, and with a drone, and with a helicopter, all while making cheesy jokes that were not a lot, but just a little bit more funny 10 years ago.
Why is it when the defecation hits the oscillation, the squad is always split up?
At the end of the day, you find out that your informant is actually a son of one of the soldiers who died during Operation Aurora. Now, I can understand that he's pissed about it, but normally someone like that goes to therapy, or I don't know, burns a flag during a protest or something. But this guy decides that the only way to get even with the American government is to work together with a creepy Russian guy and, quote, destroy all of America. Before anyone can talk some sense into this guy, or maybe give him a chill pill or something, Russian Bruce Willis kills him, gets away with his ultra weapon, and even gets as far as using it once. But then in true Hollywood fashion, our heroes make their way through the airplane, one-liner after one-liner, they kill the bad guy, and the world is saved. Or is it? So, the campaign is nothing to write home about, though it is entertaining here and there. In my opinion, it starts off very strong with the section in the Second World War, and I love the attention to detail here. They could have chosen to cut corners and use models of weapons, vehicles and enemies of the present day in this first mission. But instead you'll see period authentic weapons and tanks specifically made for this mission only. Apart from that, as I might have made clear already at this point, the story itself is just filled with clichés we've all heard a million times before. America good, Russia bad, weapons of mass destruction, betrayal, even more betrayal, and of course a 2010 game wouldn't be complete without some sort of step towards Call of Duty.
If this was a snowmobile race, I'd take you down. It's not a snowmobile. Snowmobiles are resistant.
It's the Braidwood.
No. He'll just send some special ops douchebags with ass heartbeat monitors on their guns instead of us.
Though limited in its gameplay, you pretty much get the hang of everything you'll eventually encounter in the multiplayer. And for that, it's a nice 7-hour shooting gallery filled with on-rail turret sections, boat sections, tank battles, and several different climates. The only reason it eventually took me 8 hours to complete was because of a glitch at the end of the game that even today still hasn't been fixed. But as much as the campaign is not that impressive, at least the chemistry and interactions between the characters are very well done. Even though 9 out of 10 times you're facepalming your way through all of their corny jokes, at the end of the day these 4 guys are the most memorable and likable thing about the whole campaign. I remember loving this campaign back in the day and playing through it for at least 10 times. But will I still feel like going back to this campaign every now and then, even after the 11th time?
No, I don't think I will.
But let's be honest here. As far as the campaign is enjoyable, no one bought this game because of it. It was all about the multiplayer, and in its heyday, it was glorious. When you talk about a Battlefield multiplayer, there are pretty much 3 things that mostly come to mind. All-out warfare, team play, and fun. So let's start off with that first thing. If you've played Battlefield or if you've seen others play it, you've heard the term all-out warfare being thrown around like grenades in a COD game. Battlefield is known for this. Huge maps with both infantry and vehicle combat, a lot of accessibility within the maps, meaning you can pretty much go anywhere and destroy anything, and a lot of tools at your disposal. While pretty much every Battlefield game has had this, I think Bad Company 2 started the all-out warfare as we know it today in a Battlefield multiplayer. First off, the maps. Pretty much all maps were huge, with maps like Harvest Day, Heavy Metal and Oasis standing out the most. Their size in particular made them very well suited for vehicle and aerial combat and long-range encounters. The use of tanks, armored vehicles, attack and transport helicopters and quad bikes might not be as rare as it was back then, but seeing all of those vehicles entangled in battle in 2010, in a multiplayer game nonetheless, it really was a sight to behold. And pretty much every map had the space for all-out warfare, though all of them were easily distinguishable for some reason or another. Atacama Desert had a bigger focus on conquest, Nelson Bay was the only map that took place at night, Valparaiso had a jungle setting and therefore more possibilities for close and medium range encounters, Arica Harbor and Panama Canal had a bit more of an urban combat feeling, etc, etc, etc. Because of the size of these maps, it made it possible to include several different game modes as well. Though, to be honest, not a lot. You had your Conquest and your Team Deathmatch, which worked fine and were very fun, but both sometimes cut off certain parts of the map for gameplay or balancing reasons, meaning you won't get to experience the whole map. But there was one thing that easily stole the show: Rush. No, not the Canadian progressive rock band, the game mode that dominated within the Battlefield franchise around this time. Rush is a pretty simple concept. You have an attacking team and a defending team. The attacking team needs to destroy 2 objectives. If they succeed, the map grows in size and 2 new objectives appear. Keep destroying all objectives and eventually you'll win. Why was this so popular all of a sudden? Well, just look at the maps themselves. Pretty much all of them are kind of long rather than big, meaning the developers must have made them while mainly focusing on this game mode in particular. And it shows. When playing Rush, you really feel like you have an objective and need to keep pushing towards victory. But how will you get that victory, you ask? Well, you could of course use all of the earlier mentioned vehicles in this game. Or as you can see in the footage right here, when you notice that your team isn't pushing, you can start playing very aggressive and destroy the objectives yourself. But chances are you won't be as lucky as I was in this match. The more useful and effective way to play the objective is the second thing that makes a Battlefield game. And that is team play. In Bad Company 2 you have a class system. The assault class can be seen as an all-rounder. It has assault rifles that are always equipped with a grenade launcher, smoke launcher or shotgun, and it has 2 gadgets, ammo boxes and C4 explosives, meaning this class can do damage on different ranges, damage both infantry and vehicles, and the ammo box means they will most likely die before they will run out of ammo. The engineer class has SMGs, which for some reason are all silenced, but they're great for short to medium range encounters. They also have rocket launchers and a repair tool, meaning they can deal a lot of damage to vehicles, but also repair them. The medic class has LMGs, which makes them great for medium to long range, but they also have defibrillators to revive fallen team members, and medikits, meaning they can heal people. Finally, there's the scout class. These have sniper rifles, of course well suited for long range encounters, but they also have motion trackers, C4 explosives and the ability to call in mortar strikes. All classes have their own strengths and weaknesses, and in my opinion they have always been pretty well balanced. Even though I always thought the SMGs were pretty underpowered, the fact that the engineer class has a rocket launcher makes up for that. And because most classes have some sort of explosive, that means they will always have a chance against vehicles. Small side note, though the amount of weapons you can choose from might not look like a lot for today's standards, the variety in weapons was actually very nice. Especially because this game was set in the near future, you don't necessarily see AK-47s and M4s, but instead you see a lot of their supposed follow-ups. For instance, the XM prototype weapons you see in the game were actually considered to be used in the US Army, similar to the AEK who would follow up the AK-47. On top of that, you see a lot of NATO weaponry you don't see that often in other games, like the M416, the M249 SAW and the MG3. Snipers especially had a lot of variety, with bolt-action rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and even a fully automatic rifle. On top of that, you have a few weapons you can use in all four classes, like shotguns, DMRs, and even 2 World War II weapons. But going back to the main point, how can you actually make sure that you win a match? That's where the team play comes in. Say you play with the medic class. You might be very powerful against infantry, but at some point you'll encounter an enemy vehicle and your grenades probably won't do the trick. That's why you have a squad. If you play it smart, someone else in your squad plays as an engineer, meaning they can take out vehicles more easily. In this way you can have all sorts of very useful matchups. For instance, you take a vehicle and another squad member plays as an engineer, so he can repair your vehicle. Or you play as an assault class and someone else gives you sniper support. Or you play tightly together with one person as a medic so that they can revive you when someone goes down. This in combination with a team-based point system, meaning you will get extra points for playing with a squad, encourages team play and really makes the overall experience so much more rewarding. Which brings us to the last important aspect of a Battlefield game. You have your huge maps, different vehicles, different classes, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and so many different playstyles. But is it fun? Well, hell yeah it is. Not only is there so much to do in this game that you will pretty much never get bored, but if you think you'll run out of ideas, that's when you start to get creative. Maybe you'll find a knife-only server. Maybe you'll run across the battlefield only using your defibrillators. Maybe you'll stick C4 to your quad bike and drive into an enemy tank. Bad Company 2 was for me personally the start of what is now known as a sandbox first-person shooter. And if you pick up the game today, you can still have so much fun with it. On top of that, Bad Company 2 is the first game where Battlefield went all in on the destruction. Known in this game as Destruction 2.0, you could pretty much level every building you see. Does that mean that at some point all the buildings are destroyed and it messes up the flow of the map? Well, yeah, that's definitely possible. The map could look like a complete wasteland after 20 minutes of fighting, and a lot of cover suddenly is just all gone. But on the other hand, it forces you to play a bit more aggressive. Knowing the house you're taking cover in could be destroyed at any moment makes you cautious and forces you to always look around for a way out or to have a different tactic in the back of your head. And to be honest, shooting a complete house to shit just because you can is so much fun. And the fun didn't stop there, because not long after release the game got a DLC in the form of Bad Company 2 Vietnam. The game takes you, obviously, to Vietnam with some brand new vehicles, weapons and maps, including a remastered version of Operation Hastings from all the way back in 2004's Battlefield Vietnam. The idea was to not only just slap a Vietnam skin on the existing game, but actually change the gameplay up a bit. Still focusing on all-out warfare, but also keeping it accurate to what warfare actually looked like during the Vietnam War. So no more high-tech gadgets, no more weapon attachments, no guided rockets, helicopters can be shot down with normal weaponry. Actually, overall, a pretty simplified version of the normal game, but it definitely didn't make it less enjoyable. The maps looked amazing, the weapons were a nice variation on the existing class system, and things like the flamethrower actually added some new gameplay elements. All of this while enjoying a completely new, period-accurate soundtrack including Creedence Clearwater Revival in the main menu. It can probably be summarized best as a very cool little addition to the actual game. Still all-out warfare, still team play, still a hell of a lot of fun. If you could still play it. You see, everything I told you right now is from what I remember of the game, but it's been 11 years since the release, and since then 5 new games came out in the franchise, with a 6th on the way. And while my hopes were very high when returning to the game this week, I was being greeted by disappointment. First of all, good luck trying to find a working server. That is, if you can actually find a server at all. I have a very big Vietnam-sized hole in my heart ever since I made the gut-punching discovery that no one except for me and this guy still play the Vietnam DLC. 3 days have I tried to search for a full server, yet to no avail. At least the main game still has some populated servers, yet also not a lot. And as soon as you start the game, there is the second gut punch. The game is clunky. In the past 10 years I've gotten used to the incredibly fluent gameplay and movement of the newer Battlefield installments, yet I never realized how much of a difference it was until now. The movement is sluggish and clunky, you'll get stuck on several places, you can't run through doorways without destroying the door, you can't jump through windows at all most of the time. When a house has collapsed, good luck trying to make your way in and out of cover. Of all things, I thought the graphics would have aged the most, but in my opinion it's definitely the movement that took the hardest hit. Then after playing a few hours, the frustration started to come back to me, which I've completely forgotten over all these years. If the enemy has taken all the objectives, you're pretty much boned unless you have a very good team that manages to break out again. Otherwise you'll be base raped until there's nothing left of both your base and your team. Frustration started running up even higher when I felt like my shots just weren't landing, yet it feels like the enemies kill me with just one shot. Needless to say, my kill-death ratio was not impressive. Also, I found out firsthand that the usage of the infamous Carl Gustav launcher on infantry instead of vehicles still hasn't changed. The game is also full of choke points, especially in the rush game mode. If the complete defending team decides to camp on the objective, it rarely happens that you can break through. On top of that, the game was before you actually got a warning that your squad member was in combat. Therefore, it happens a lot that if you spawn on a squad member, you instantly die and the enemy now has a double kill instead of just one. Things were not looking very good, to be honest, and I really thought that maybe I just remembered the good things about this game, but that it actually wasn't that good. But then I decided, you know what? If things really go this shitty, I might as well start f***ing around, and that's when this happened. It took me only 3 defib kills to realize why I love this game in the first place. It's not because I was good at it or because the game was perfect. It's because it was goddamn hilarious. It's when you put all your competitiveness aside and just have fun and play as a team, that's when the greatness of this game shines through. Destroying buildings just because you can, run after a tank with C4 and hoping you're just in time to detonate before he kills you, forgetting how the game works, which result in the most ridiculous standoffs ever. Yeah, that's good shit. It's that one little moment in which I thought, yes, you should still buy and play this game today, because it's still awesome. But then I came back from the clouds and realized, no, you probably shouldn't buy it. Because as much as I still love the game and it's a lot of fun to return to it every now and then, it's never the same as how it was back in the day. And as you can see, less and less servers are available. If you can still find a server at all, I can guarantee you'll have fun. But in the near future there will be a moment where all the servers are empty and the game just won't ever be worth the 10 euros anymore. Dare I say that it's already not worth the 10 euros anymore. That being said, try it out if you still have it lying around somewhere. Do some stupid shit like road killing all the campers. And then put the game back on the trophy case where it damn well belongs. Battlefield Bad Company 2, I salute you as one of the best games I've ever played. But it's time to say goodbye. Let's just hope that the remastered part of this game in the upcoming Battlefield will give me the same feeling as this game did 11 years ago. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video, and let me know if you've played Bad Company 2 as well back in the day, and if you remember it just as fondly as me. If you like my content, please consider subscribing or like the video, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!